Well, the new Matrix is out and it got me feeling like...
Nigel, a runner.
Null pointer, runner.
Stevens, agent.
Simon, a runner.
Freeman, 713. I am a sentinel.
It's been over 18 years since the original Matrix trilogy came to an end, and Resurrections had to come along and make me even more confused.
Whoa.
So if you were like me and found yourself scratching your head begging to be blue-pilled because you didn't understand what was going on, this is the video for you. We'll be going over some of the biggest unanswered questions, timeline details, and little things you missed along the way. So grab a red pill and follow me down this rabbit hole as we explain Matrix Resurrections.
Time to fly.
Like the original Matrix, Resurrections begins with a blinking green prompt.
We know the story. This is how it all began.
We're watching the beginning of the original Matrix through the eyes of a new character called Bugs. But something is off. Trinity is played by a different actress, Morpheus is Agent Smith, and things just aren't happening the way like we saw in the original. This is because we're witnessing events in a sub-program called a modal. Think of it like the movie Inception. You have the real world, a dream world, and a dream within a dream world. Only in this version, you have the real world, the Matrix, and the modal within the Matrix. This modal was created by Thomas Anderson, aka Neo. It's actually his code for a video game called The Matrix, which has won him and his business partner Smith many accolades. But what Neo doesn't know is that he's stuck in a new version of The Matrix. But to understand how we got here, we need to figure out what happened between the end of Matrix Revolutions and the beginning of Matrix Resurrections. Revolutions ended with Neo sacrificing himself to save humanity, essentially brokering a peace between man and machine.
Just how long do you think this peace is going to last?
Remember that Neo contains the source code to the Matrix. If there's no Matrix, the machines can't harvest the power from their endless fields of human batteries. Neo sacrificed himself, allowing his source code to be extracted and the Matrix reinstalled, in exchange for peace between man and machine. This is why we see the Sentinels standing down at the Battle of Zion and the Oracle back in the Matrix as a new dawn arrives in the background. Later in the film, when Neo reunites with Niobe, who you may remember from Reloaded and Revolutions, she tells him that an energy scarcity started a civil war between the machines. In this shot here, we can see how even the machines are colored red and blue, like the pills. This color contrast is used all throughout the film. Although Niobe doesn't go into great detail here, it's my interpretation that this battle was between the Architect, one of the creators of the original Matrix, and the Analyst, an AI promising an improved version. Eventually, the Analyst prevailed as he proved his version of the Matrix could control humans better while simultaneously extracting more power. But how did he do this? How did he make such an enhanced version of the Matrix? The key? The bond shared between Neo and Trinity.
The key to it all? You. And her. Quietly yearning for what you don't have, while dreading losing what you do.
As the Analyst states, the older version of the Matrix missed a key element, a human element, feelings, the two most important of which are desire and fear. At the end of Reloaded, we meet the Architect, who had an absolute disdain for humanity. Whereas he pushed aside humanity in his coding, the Analyst embraced it, incorporating it into his version of the Matrix, manipulating humanity's desires and fears to maximize energy output.
The worse we treat you, the more we manipulate you, the more energy you produce.
After the deaths of Neo and Trinity, he pieced together their bodies and extracted the source code to create his own improved version of the Matrix. And when the suits, those AI the Analyst reports to, found out about how much more efficient this Matrix was, the switch was made. But what the Analyst and machines don't realize is that this version of the Matrix contains a bug, literally a character named Bugs. She was a normal blue-pilled window washer living her life in the Matrix when she saw a version of Neo jump off a building. It's not clear how many times Bugs witnessed this before she bugged out, because we know the Matrix loops.
We can't see it, but we're all trapped inside these strange repeating loops.
The Architect's Matrix had already gone through 5 iterations before we got to the version of Neo we see in the trilogy. What makes things more confusing is that the Analyst has given Neo something called a DSI, or Digital Self-Image. So while we see him looking like Keanu Reeves, within the Matrix he looks like this guy in the mirror. So anyone trying to find him would have a hell of a hard time, hence why it took nearly 20 years to reach him. To make things even more confusing, 60 years have passed in the real world, hence why we see Niobe looking much older. So we have this character Bugs who knows Neo, the One, is alive, and she believes she can find him. Something inside her compels her to search the modal.
But something is happening here. Something important.
That's because the creator of the modal, Thomas Anderson, subconsciously left a backdoor to access it, knowing that someone like Bugs will come in and eventually free Morpheus. Thomas Anderson was smart and hid Morpheus in the Agent Smith character, and only when the two meet does he snap out of his loop, take the red pill, and join Bugs on her quest.
I am Morpheus, and I have to find Neo.
Within the Matrix, the analyst masquerades as Neo's therapist. This allows him to keep tabs on how Neo's feeling, gaslight him, and prescribe him medication that will keep him complacent. Even Thomas Anderson's design role in the Matrix, that of a video game developer, is merely a veneer to hide the fact that his visions of the past weren't real, but rather figments of the game he was developing. At Deus Machina, the video game company Thomas Anderson works at, a name that literally means God Machine from Latin, we learn that Agent Smith is his business partner. He too goes about his life not knowing who he really is. It's only when Thomas Anderson awakens to the realization that he is Neo that Smith realizes he is Agent Smith.
I feel bad about this, Tom. After all, you are the one who set me free.
That's because there's an inseparable link between these two characters.
He used our bond and turned it into a chain.
In Matrix Revolutions, the Oracle tells Neo that he and Agent Smith were created to bring balance, one being the yin to the other's yang.
He is you. Your opposite, your negative. The result of the equation trying to balance itself out.
With Neo successfully red-pilled and brought back to the real world, we're introduced to the new city of Io, led by Niobe. Io is an interesting name with a double meaning. In tech speak, it's short for input-output, but it's also the name of a mortal lover of the Greek god Zeus. Another interesting fact is that Bug's ship, the Mnemosyne, is named after the Greek god of memory. When Neo awakens in the resurrection pod, he sees Trinity across from him. The analysts purposely put their pods close together as it helps stabilize and maximize the energy output. It's here that the main story of Resurrections begins. Neo has to save Trinity from the Matrix. So when Neo goes back into the Matrix, he's pursued by Agent Smith. Now, Agent Smith wants one thing, for Neo to stay out and let him deal with the analyst.
All you have to do is stay out of the Matrix and leave the good doctor to me.
He believes that Neo isn't ready to take on the analyst, and by doing so, he'd jeopardize Smith's newfound freedom.
I won't have his leash on my neck again.
He's even amassed a group of exiles, a batch of programs that, rather than face deletion, have hidden themselves from various iterations of the Matrix. This includes the Merovingian, who has gone from upscale French asshole to hobo French asshole. He's not really important to the story at all, I guess they just wanted to put him here as fan service. Meanwhile, an urgent message from Sati is delivered to Neo and Niobe. Sati, you might recall, was the young girl from Matrix Revolutions whose father helped her escape deletion. Turns out he also designed these special resurrection pods for Trinity and Neo, so she has some inside info on how Neo can rescue Trinity. And this rescue has to happen soon since Neo's escape has caused the Matrix to destabilize, which has caused a failsafe to revert back to a previous version of the Matrix. But the only thing preventing that from happening is the analyst, who has put a temporary stop to it. He's convinced the suits that he can get Neo back. So basically, Neo has to choose between going back in the pod forever to maintain stability in the Matrix, or risk both his and Trinity's life and destroying everything in the process. The plan is pretty complicated. They can't just unplug and steal Trinity's body from the resurrection pod. If they did that, the analyst would know and immediately have her killed. So they designed this crazy scheme to have Bugs take over Trinity's Matrix body for just a brief moment while they transfer Trinity's pod connection to this flying machine called Kujaku. I hope everyone's following. Kujaku acts as both an uplink to the Matrix as well as a vehicle that transports Trinity back to the ship. You can see this brief transfer depicted in the movie when it looks like Trinity's body is split. But before we get there, we learn that Trinity has to make the choice of leaving the Matrix on her own, just like Neo did. If she doesn't make that decision on her own, it could kill her.
Extracting a confused or an uncertain mind will, in all probability, kill her.
But it's kind of a moot point since the Matrix has always toyed with the idea that we don't have a choice. Everything is predetermined.
The choice is an illusion. You already know what you have to do.
At the last minute, when it looks like Trinity, or Tiffany as she's called in this version of the Matrix, is going to stay, she changes her mind. This causes a showdown between them and the analyst, whose time-freezing ability, which Neo was unable to counter, is foiled by Agent Smith. The analyst isn't sure how Smith isn't affected by this. His program has seemingly gone rogue, free from his constraints, which is only explained by this one line.
Once he got out, let's just say I was free to be me.
so it's pretty vague what actually happened here. He ends up shooting the analyst, giving Neo and Trinity enough time to escape, ending their quote-unquote alliance. What ensues is a massive swarm chase sequence where bodies controlled by the analyst literally plunge to their deaths to stop Neo and Trinity as they make their escape. It all culminates in a literal leap of faith off the top of a building as a new dawn rises. But what happens here is really unexpected. Trinity flies, saving Neo from his death. She seems to have the powers he did in the original trilogy. My best interpretation of this is that because this is a new Matrix that is inextricably connected between Neo and Trinity, the two share these powers. That's why you'll see the two of them flying at the very end. It's probably just for dramatic effect that we have her unlocking her powers to save him at this very moment, just like he saved her in the trilogy. Remember, he literally took a bullet out of her. The two of them confront the analyst and learn the suits tried to activate the failsafe but couldn't without the source code. Regardless, the analyst actually thinks they're going to go back to their pods on their own and let him control the Matrix, because at the end of the day, people like to be controlled and they like the world he made. And Trinity and Neo are like, hell no, and decide to make some changes on their own. So it looks like Resurrections ends with Neo and Trinity ruling the Matrix together, being able to change whatever they want. I also imagine this would allow them to have leverage in the real world against the machines. If they control the Matrix, they also control the flow of energy. So there you have it, Matrix Resurrections. What did you think of the new film, and where would you rank it? I want to hear your thoughts and theories below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.